Good day. It's wonderful to be here, and it's a great honor for me to have been asked to make some comments at the opening of this great new center. First, I'd like to greet Minister of Science, Dr. Christina Gamellier, and my friend, Secretary of Science, Carlos Martinez, and of course, honored guests on the front row, and all the rest of you I'd like to greet. This is a very special occasion, I think, for the directors of the center, Jose Latorre, and also Assistant Director Manuel Casare, who have now for 15 years of hard work and intense commitments, have finally come to realize the dreams of having a real home for the center, where the best scientific minds from all over the world can meet and interact to discuss important issues in their fields of expertise. This, of course, could not have happened without the financial and programmatic support from the Spanish government, in particular from the offices of the Ministry of Science, under the leadership of Dr. Gamellier and Carlos Martinez. At the same time, my experience from countries all over the world, I can say that Spain is fortunate to have such a high caliber of leadership. At the same time, the Spanish government might do well to allocate still more resources in the support of basic science and technology. This is, as you all know, becoming a trend in many countries in order to stay competitive in the future. Spain has in recent years begun to make such investment, but still has ways to go before reaching the 3% level of GDP, a goal set and reached by some countries like United States and Japan. It's a tough goal to reach, but I'm sure that you're all aware about that this is desirable. At the Benasque Center of Science, the directors here, under Jose's leadership, will organize high levels of meetings with brilliant minds in physics, mathematics, and other sciences, like similar to the centers in the United States, in Aspen, Colorado, and also in Santa Fe. They plan also to have, I have learned, cross-disciplinary interaction between scientists in different fields. A well-known Nobel laureate biologist, Sidney Brenner, has stated, some people say perhaps overstated, a few years ago, that in this century all sciences will converge on biology, and therefore the need for interdisciplinary cooperation in all natural sciences is becoming more and more urgent. As it's already established in physics, the field of biology, reaching higher and higher level of sophistication, is well on its way to divide into experimental and theoretical biology. And the Benasque Science Center and its leadership are ideally placed to provide the home and the intellectual basis for these kind of future dialogues and developments. as you may know, it is now 50 years since C.P. Snow published his famous book about, in which he argued that the science and humanities are two different worlds with very little interconnection. And this analysis of C.P. Snow was accepted very broadly, except perhaps in the science community, where some of us felt that that didn't necessarily provide accurate picture. Now, the situation, I feel the situation is very different today, in part because technology has had a major impact in the art, in the visual art, in music, in writing, and also in part because science has become so much part of our daily lives. The view that the two cultures have more and more in common is indirectly supported, I think, by a study that was released last week by the Pew Foundation, showing that 84% of the American public has a very positive view of science and also of the scientist. And I can't resist to make the comment that that study also showed that the members of the military rated slightly higher than us scientists. But that's the way it often is in life. Now, in this vein of cooperation between different cultures, I think the Benasque Centro plans to stimulate more interaction between members of sciences and the arts. Actually, in May, a group of philosophers and scientists met here, and this week a group of scientists and artists are meeting here to discuss creativity in art and science, a subject which is close to my heart. In short, I can see a wonderful future and fully support for the center and fully support the vision to bring brilliant minds here to develop new ideas and insight, as well as attempting to bridge the gap between the arts and the sciences. Now, I was asked by the organizer, I feel a little bit embarrassed, but I was asked, and I usually try to do what I'm asked to do, to make some short personal comment on my motivation to become a scientist. In view of the fact that we are in Benasque Valley, the Valley of Seduction, I titled my comment "Seduced by Science and Enduring Passion," though I have other passions as well. Now, I have been very fortunate in my research career, reaching the highest recognition with the Nobel Prize in '81, and just 3 years ago I received the Ramon y Cajal Award on the occasion of the centennial of his reception of the Nobel Award. So, just a few comments. Growing up, we all have different internal and external influences that make us decide for different careers. In my case, the road toward becoming a brain scientist started already in my high school years, and probably earlier because now the pages are out of order. Anyhow, there must be a page in here somewhere. Yeah. Because I grew up in a big psychiatric hospital outside Stockholm. I'm Swedish by birth, where my father was a director, and therefore I was exposed at a very early age to the problems of the mentally ill. I was not a particularly good student, having shown more interest in sports and girls than in school, and did not get my act together until in my late teens, when suddenly lightning struck. So my grades approved, and I was accepted at the Karolinska Institute at the medical school in Stockholm. I had a very inspiring professor, Carl Gustav Bernhard, in neuroscience, who got me into his laboratory and also helped me later to become postdoc with Stephen Kuffler at Johns Hopkins Medical School. And Stephen Kuffler, was also another great mentor. I mentioned the mentors here because in your life, these individuals often influence our way of being and thinking, I think. Because also having this contact made it possible for me to get into some of the best universities in the world. So these were two lucky breaks, and the third lucky break was when David Jubel joined the laboratory at Hopkins. David is a great experimenter, writer, and friend with a background in mathematics before going to medical school. And we had a great time doing nearly 20 years of collaboration, first at Hopkins, then at Harvard. And our experiment on sleeping cats and monkeys usually lasted over 24 hours. And we tried to do 2 experiments a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, exploring as we did the unknown world of the visual cortex. We were lucky because the method to record the activity of single neurons in the brain had just been developed, and the visual cortex was virgin territory. So David and I felt, I can get my papers in order here. And David and I felt that we were explorers in our attempts to find out the secrets about how visual information is processed by the brain. People have said that we broke the code of how information from the eyes are processed by the brain. And we certainly had an exciting and fun time doing the work, which we did with no prior hypothesis, just with open and curious minds. We both have been worried that in recent years there have been an insistence by some colleagues, particularly those on reviewers of grants and papers, that you must have a hypothesis before a given proposal can be supported and funded. And so we all wondered that if we had started today, our work would probably not be accepted and funded. So just is I think important for us to leave our young scientists in particular free to explore their curiosity and their imagination rather than forcing specific hypothesis that has to be proven or disproven. At least at the stage of biology we are now, we are still not at the level of physics. We still have a long way to go before one can profitably do so. So, I'm coming to the last page. Now, I'd like to end these comments by an advice to students who sometimes come and ask how you can succeed in life as a scientist. And I sort of say that you must have good and original ideas. And you must be sort of completely committed to the pursuit of these things. I mean, to me, science is like art, something that you really are passionate about. And finally, you have to have luck. You have, as I tried to emphasize here, a certain amount of luck in my life, and I think it's also important to know when you're lucky. like to give the same advice to my colleague who is here, who, as the director of the center, also need to have good ideas. He has to work hard, and he has to have luck. So I thank you all for your attention.